The drawing that you see here has come from the ArchiCAD environment, and the base units here are inches, which to us is relatively unusual. Let's see if we can move it into decimal feet. Just to illustrate, if I select a line across here, you can see its length is 6 inches. In fact, it should be 6 feet. So we need to scale everything in this design. So we'll go to Tools and into Selection and select All, and we'll right-click on the desktop and start the Scale command. So we want to change our inches to decimal feet, so we need a scale factor. So let's start up the gCADPlus calculator, and we want a factor of 1 divided by 12. There are 12 inches in a foot, so 0.08 recurring. So we can highlight that and right-click and copy. Come back into the drawing now. We're asked for a base point, 0, 0, and as a reference point, we can input the scale factor and we can paste it, that factor in there, and we can go OK. Now the drawing appears to disappear, but it hasn't gone. It's been rescaled. We can unselect all and zoom extents. Now if we zoom in on that little line, which previously was 72 inches, it's now says its angle is 3/8. What I'm going to do now is take the drawing units back into decimal, which is the usual way. This is a US design, so it's going to be in decimal feet. So that now shows us, when we click on here, it's 6 units or 6 decimal feet in width. So all is looking good. Well, the rescaling has certainly caused some problems with the scale of hatch patterns, but the reason to rescale the whole drawing and get it to decimal units is that plotting to an accurate scale can now be managed in the layout sheet. So here we are in the layout sheet. We have a floating viewport, and we want to present that to a fixed scale. So we double click and size essentially our view box, and we'll just right click and display it on the layout. And let's zoom in there again and set things. So we're displaying the design in that floating viewport. If we select the floating viewport, notice it has a view scale of 0.78, but we want to plot this at a fixed scale, maybe 1 to 98 or 1 to 120 or whatever is in use in your system. So let's zoom extents. We have on the modify button, we can set a fixed scale in layout by picking the floating viewport and looking down in the command line there. We need to, in this case, because it's an example in the US, we need to indicate I for imperial. And now we want to try one of these scale factors. If we try 1/96 and hit enter, that shows us that that scale's not working for us. Sorry. We go to modify, set the scale factor, follow the prompts, pick it, and imperial, remembers so 1/128 we'll try next, and that's getting quite close on this particular size sheet. Now you might find the best approach here is to go to a slightly larger sheet. You could go to the Layouts Manager and change this from an architectural C sheet to a slightly larger architectural D sheet, and we'll OK it. Now there's the scale. It's still fixed at 1/128, and if we now move like so, we can fit it all onto our sheet, we need to pick our title block and move it down here to the corner. So we're almost there, and in one go we can plot the whole of the design at 1 to 128. We might have to do a little fiddling, and we'll display on the layout. We can fiddle a little by adjusting the position, say, of this piece of text here, indicating some gravel. So now we go back into the model and then play with some of the scale factors. You may remember that that was a green grass area, and we could then change the scale factor back to a more sensible one, and I'll unselect all. We clearly have a problem with the hatching in this area through here, and it's been converted across, and with our rescale it's 600. Let's try a factor of 10 as a guess and see how we go there. Unselect all. So that looks reasonable. It's interesting the way ArchiCAD develops its hatching, runs all over a very large area indeed. So we're moving towards a drawing that now works pretty well. We've got another batch through here, so I imagine we can say modify and match properties of this hatching and match it to that one there. You might also want to make sure putting the hatching, it probably represents the ground surface, perhaps a mulch surface, and go to tools and move it to the back, and in that way the symbols will stand out quite nicely when you go into the drawing sheet proper. So zoom extend, so we have a fixed scale, and things have now returned to a comfortable gCADPlus environment. There's plenty more work to do, changing dimension styles and others, but I think we're on the right track.